a variety of reasons, I spent a lot of my life feeling very disconnected and like I didn't belong, like I didn't fit in. Between being the only Jewish kid basically in the whole school, to having the curly hair, to being the girl that got picked on literally for smiling. There was a lot of my life where I just felt like I just don't belong here. Even when I went off to college and I wasn't the only Jewish kid on campus, I still never felt like I fit in. And then even as an adult, I got to pick where I was going to live. I got to, I owned a house by myself. I got married. I got divorced. All these things, and throughout all of that, I still felt like nobody has my back. I don't belong here, and it set me off on like this sort of a spiritual journey. Although I didn't intend to do that or know that's what I was doing at the time. But it set me off on trying to figure out just where do I belong? How do I fit in? And through a lot of different trainings and learnings and trying out different practices, the one thing I kept hearing over and over and over again was Spirit has your back. Mother Nature has your back. Use whatever terms you want to use. God has your back. Whatever word works for you for that. Power greater than yourself, right? Has your back. And I took it on faith because I was so desperate to just feel like I had a place and somebody had my back and I was supported and I did have a purpose and I was here for a reason. I was so desperate that I just took it on faith that, yes, Mother Nature has my back. God has my back. Spirit has my back. Took it on faith. I never actually felt it. But in order to fit in with these people that at least understood where I was coming from and not feeling like I fit in or feeling like I belonged or had a purpose or whatever, I pretended like I felt it. But privately to myself, I knew I didn't feel it. I'm a Scorpio. We're really good at lying about our emotions to other people. We don't lie to ourselves, but to other people, we're very good at pretending. So I kind of just thought like something was wrong with me, right? Like I don't feel it, but all these other people feel it, so there must be something wrong with me. And I kept trying to figure out, why don't I feel it? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Come to find out, there's nothing wrong with me at all. And if you relate it all to what I've said so far, there is nothing wrong with you either. Come to find out, the reason I was feeling that way is because literally of where I was living, the part of the world where I was physically existing. I wasn't able to feel that connection. And I know that might sound a little woo-woo out there. Just go with me for a second. Less than a year ago, I moved 2,000 miles. And the experience that I had driving across the country was pretty amazing. And how I kind of figured this out. So, first of all, let me just set the scene for you, all right? So, I moved from New England to Colorado. And I drove the 15-foot U-Haul with my car on a trailer thingy on the back. And 3 kitties in the cab with me, 2 of whom insisted on being carrier optional because otherwise they were going to scream for 4 days in the truck, and I was not listening. It was not a relaxing journey by any means, but something pretty amazing happened. So I knew from all of my different spiritual trainings and stuff like that energetic connections exist. And again, just go with me here. You don't have to understand that or believe that. Just go with me. And that those connections, they're like a rubber band and they can only stretch so far before they snap. And so I was logically expecting that at some point in this drive across the country, I was going to feel that disconnect happen between me and some things in New England. I didn't even know what, but just stuff. And that at some point I would start to feel new connections. Didn't know what or how or what it was going to look like. I just knew at some point that rubber band was going to break and I was going to feel different. And even if you've never moved far, but if you've ever traveled outside of like 1,000-mile radius, let's say, maybe even 500, if you've ever traveled, you've probably felt different in the place you've traveled to than the place you live. So you may understand a little bit of what I'm talking about here, just having experienced it in that way. And so I'm driving across, and we spend the first night at the edge of New York. We spend the second night in Ohio, at the edge of Ohio, and ugh, something was up with Ohio. But anyway, no offense to the people that live there. I'm sure you're doing your best, but it needs some healing in that area. And then as soon as I crossed out of Ohio, something changed. And I didn't recognize what it was at first. I just knew that I felt something was feeling differently for me. I kept crying and I couldn't figure out why, but it wasn't like upset cry. It was just like emotion release cry. And everything just looked brighter and lighter and happier. And it took me through 2 states, actually, through Indiana and Illinois, to figure out what had happened. And what I finally realized what had happened was that rubber band broke. When we left Ohio, that rubber band finally snapped. And I think that's probably part of why Ohio felt so ugh to me, is like all of that rubber band was like trying really hard to just stay taut, and it couldn't anymore once I left Ohio. And so when that happened, why I kept crying was because I felt that support that I had been told for years. You're going to, Mother Earth supports you, Spirit supports you, God supports you. I finally felt that for the first time after leaving Ohio. And it was amazing. It took my brain a little while to catch up to what I was feeling and to be able to put it into words. And so now, I've been in Colorado since April. It's now December. And I still feel that support. I've also come to realize I need to maybe make one more move to shift a few things, but that's another story for another day. For today, I just want you to know that if you are not feeling supported, if you are not feeling like you have a place, if you're not feeling like you belong, if you're not feeling like you're connected to the world around you or to your community, or you're just feeling plain lost, I'm not saying you have to move, but it might be about your location rather than about you or the people around you. It might literally be about your geographic, physical location. And to just be open-minded to the idea that if you move, you may discover that there is a place where you don't feel that way. There is a place where you will feel that support, and you will feel that connection, and you will feel that you have a purpose and a mission, and you will begin to understand what those are and see what those are. It took moving 2,000 miles for me to understand that my purpose is about helping you find your place through connection with nature. I had to move 2,000 miles. I didn't know that at the time. Once I got here, things started to unfold. So for today, just be open to that idea. You don't have to move. You don't have to think about it, try to figure it out. If you do want to delve into it a bit, look into astrocartography. It's basically astrology laid on a map, and there are people that do those readings. I found someone on Etsy. I can put her link down in the comments there for you. They may be able to help you figure out where you're supposed to go, where you'll fit in, whatever those things that you're feeling like you're missing. Just be open to the idea. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Continue to expand your knowledge, feel connections, and live with compassion.